The bold and the beautiful spoilers for the week of August 11th to 15th predict that Taylor Hayes will be envious of Ridge Forrester saving Brooke Logan. Carter Walton and Hope Logan's relationship will also be tested, so this is what BNB fans should expect. For starts, Daphne Rose will influence Carter in his engagement to Hope. Since Hope will be supporting Liam Spencer in the aftermath of Grace Buckingham's revelations, Daphne will focus Carter's attention on her instead. The closer Carter gets to Daphne, the more his relationship with Hope will be tested. Meanwhile, Bill Spencer will receive furious updates on Grace's sophisticated plan to win $1 million and pay off relentless bookies. Grace even prescribed medicines to make Liam believe he had growing tumor symptoms, which Bill would find appalling. Grace's treatment of Liam, as well as her deception of Bill regarding the procedure, will result in a lot of criticism. Bill will pledge that Grace will not get away with it, but Liam may persuade his father to simply let the police handle it because Grace went to confess at the station. Other BNB teasers indicate Nick Marone will follow Brooke back to Los Angeles to propose marriage, but she appears to politely decline. Brooke would much rather get back together with Ridge, and given how things went in Naples, she hopes it will happen. Taylor will learn the newest details concerning Brooke's near-drowning incident and Ridge's rescue. Taylor will admire Ridge's bravery and quick thinking, but she will be jealous of the ex's continued relationship. Taylor may not be pleased that Ridge is performing mouth-to-mouth resuscitation on Brooke. Of course, Ridge could omit the bit about kissing Brooke and promising her that he would never take her for granted again. Taylor will eventually be relieved that the trip is finished and will encourage Ridge to focus on their wedding plans instead. Ridge will find himself in a difficult situation because he does not want to upset Taylor, but his heart will undoubtedly be drawn back to Brooke at this time. Finally, Ridge will not end his relationship with Taylor, at least not right now. Brooke and Ridge's reunion will have to wait, but she'll keep herself busy with a special event at Il Giardino that promises to be joyful. Finally, Sheila Sharp will learn why Lee Finnegan stood up for Luna Nozawa, and she may pledge not to disclose anything about their granddaughter's survival. According to the bold and the beautiful teasers, Lee and Sheila will be waiting for Luna when she wakes up, so stay tuned. Taylor Hayes was taken aback by stories that Ridge Forrester had raced to Brooke Logan's help following a near-drowning event. The incident hung heavily on her thoughts, reliving in unsettlingly vivid detail. What was supposed to be a routine rescue had morphed into the distorted domain of her fears, reopening wounds she believed were long-healed celeb dirty laundry. Taylor felt the old pain of residual rivalry from the moment she heard about it, despite her efforts to overcome it. She reminded herself that she and Ridge had a history, a strong bond that had weathered many storms. Still, learning that Ridge was involved in saving the lady who had tormented the very borders of her heart provoked a reaction she couldn't ignore. She paced the corridors of Forrester Creations, her emotions a boiling mix of fear, rage, and betrayal. Ridge's intentions did not concern her. After all, he was protecting someone in danger. But a distinct feeling of jealousy gnawed at her. Was Ridge's worry purely protective, or did it reflect something deeper? Something she was more afraid of than everything else standing between her and Ridge. Meanwhile, Ridge was caught up in a wave of concern. He'd simply done what any decent person would do, risen to the occasion when someone was in danger. However, the aftermath loomed larger than the moment. Brooke, dealing with the trauma of her near drowning, turned to him for solace. Ridge was conflicted, reflecting on their convoluted history, and wondering whether he was a rescuer, an old flame, or something in between. Brooke, who was intelligent and self-assured, bore her own emotional load. She had survived something terrifying, but more importantly, she was in a state of hope. She still anticipated rekindling her relationship with Ridge, perhaps not as a rebound, but as something meaningful and long-lasting. Regardless of the fissures, fate always managed to bring them back together. Yet there she was, conscious of Taylor's presence and its indelible mark on Ridge's reality. As the water's edge gave way to whispers at Forrester Creations, Taylor found herself rehearsing the image in her head. Ridge, breach-ridden but steady, reaching out to Brooke with firm assurance. She reminded herself that Ridge had chosen her previously, and that they had created something meaningful. There was trust, but those memories faded quickly, overpowered by distrust and seething jealousy. Then there was Carter Walton. His fiancée, Hope Logan, had stepped up in support of Liam Spencer at a critical juncture, Liam was still grieving from Grace Buckingham's bombshell revelations. Grace had organized a horrible deception, prescribing medications to make Liam feel he was critically ill, all part of a desperate attempt to reclaim a windfall and pay off rising debts. Hope's empathy and intense loyalty were evident, and she had thrown herself into becoming Liam's rock. But as she did, Carter became increasingly drawn to Daphne Rose. Daphne, ever the strategist, quietly positioned herself when Hope's attention was diverted, attempting to sow seeds of doubt, exploit the pressure on Carter, and attack his vulnerabilities. Hope, for her part, trusted and loved Carter deeply. She understood the pressure of watching him drift closer to someone else, even if that someone was opportunistic. However, she sensed the vulnerability of his situation. Carter desired connection, warmth, and understanding, while Hope was emotionally involved elsewhere. Daphne offered these things for better or ill. Carter felt torn while caught in this vortex. His sense of responsibility to Hope clashed with his growing concern over Daphne's homecoming. He knew Hope deserved the best version of himself, not the distracted version who answered Daphne's call or halted when her presence diverted his attention. The relationships between Ridge, Taylor, and Brooke paralleled the difficulties between Hope, Carter, and Daphne. Both triangles contain the same ingredients: jealousy, lingering affections, disruptions by third people, and the ongoing negotiation of previous attachments and future obligations. Taylor, struggling to maintain her composure, attempted to section her thoughts. She reminded herself that Ridge was open about his feelings and had confirmed them numerous times. Still, she couldn't shake the image of Brooke. Wet, fragile, and depending on Ridge. Even though she could rationally ignore the jealousy, it pulsed like a live creature seeking attention. Ridge, meantime, struggled with his own feelings. His purpose had been to help. However, he couldn't deny that seeing Brooke in danger, the way her terror echoed his own hidden concerns, had triggered something. He wondered if his rescue impulse was entirely altruistic, or if there was an undercurrent of unresolved feeling that he had thought was long gone. Brooke, emotionally fresh from the event, found herself repeating every gesture Ridge had made. His steadfastness in her hour of need reminded her of everything they once were. But she knew the reality. Ridge was now with Taylor. Still, she couldn't help but wish that such a moment would change things between them again. Could shared history overcome time and treachery? On another front, Hope, aware of Carter's attention shifting to Daphne, began to express her concerns. She reminded him that a bond based on mutual support and faith can withstand adversity, but only if both partners are present. She wasn't trying to accuse anyone. She just wanted Carter to be in the moment, like she had with Liam. Carter listened and saw the truth in her comments. He cared for Daphne, but not in the same way that he did for Hope. Nonetheless, he knew the risk of being lured into Daphne's circle. Hope deserved clarification and comfort. They'd made a promise to each other, and the strength of that bond needed to be affirmed rather than diluted by outside interference. Daphne, an expert at triangulation, played her part softly, always there and delivering something that felt easier than years of entwined loyalties. But as Carter stood back, silent but adamant, Daphne's influence waned. The more Carter immersed himself in Hope's reality, the less powerful her influence grew. Back at Forrester Creations, Ridge found himself shifting his focus away from Brooke's rescue and toward Taylor, who, after all, had weathered the storm with grace and tenacity. Taylor, in turn, knew that their foundation required more than just trust. It needed constant care. She and Ridge chatted gently, addressing the unspoken, confronting the jealousy, and confirming each other. Brooke, observing from the sidelines, sensed Ridge and Taylor's newfound relationship. It hurt, but it did clear the air. She could move on with dignity, knowing what she wanted yet seeing clearly what lay ahead of her. After overcoming the first of many challenges, Hope and Carter returned to one another, stronger and more committed. They both recognized that even the strongest bonds could be challenged, and that holding steadfast needed deliberate choices every day. Taylor Hayes stood at the edge of the majestic staircase, manicured fingertips holding the glossy mahogany balustrade. Her heart raced in her chest, with a cadence that felt more like a war drum than a beat of excitement. She donned a sleek emerald green gown that fitted her shape, with the fabric glistening under the lights. Her blonde hair was swept into an immaculate updo, every strand neatly in place, yet her eyes, piercing, intelligent eyes, betrayed her inner struggle. She surveyed the room below, looking for him. Rich Forrester. For many years he had served as her anchor, love and everything. And now comes the man who is ready to rip her world apart. The guests, ignorant to the undercurrents, interacted and laughed, their voices filled with excitement and celebration. They clinked champagne glasses, their conversation dominated by speculation about the evening's big event, Ridge's announcement. It was more than simply a wedding. It was a moment that would shape the destiny of Forrester Creations, the fashion enterprise that had dominated their lives for decades. Ridge, the dynamic and innovative designer, was about to reveal his decision on the company's leadership, and more crucially, his choice of bride. For months, the rumor mill has been rife with chatter. Would it be Taylor, the graceful and intelligent psychiatrist who had supported Ridge through numerous trials? Or would it be Brooke Logan, the feisty, ambitious woman who had been his on and off again love for nearly as long? The love triangle between Ridge, Taylor, and Brooke was legendary, captivating the city's elite and fueling tabloid headlines for years. Tonight it appeared, the drama would reach its culmination. Taylor's gaze settled on Ridge across the room. He stood near the grand piano, his fitted tuxedo emphasizing his broad shoulders and muscular body. His dark hair was now stained with gray, a reminder of the years they had spent negotiating love, betrayal, and ambition. He was smiling, his head thrown back in that carefree way that used to make her heart skip a beat. But then she saw her. Brooke, gorgeous in a crimson gown that exuded confidence, her arm resting lightly on Ridge's. The sight struck a piercing and unyielding anguish through Taylor's chest. She forced herself to breathe, hoping to calm the building wave of panic. She knew this moment was coming. Ridge promised her an answer, a definite choice on their future. For months, he had been divided between the two women who had molded his life in such disparate ways. Taylor had poured her all into their relationship, re-establishing trust after years of grief. She had been his rock, his confidant, and the one who recognized the gravity of his obligations. Brooke, on the other hand, embodied passion, a whirlwind of want and unpredictability who pushed him in ways Taylor never could. The music switched, from a quiet string quartet to the smooth hum of a waltz. Couples began to approach the dance floor, their moves smooth and practiced. Taylor descended the stairs, her heels gently tapping on the marble steps. She refused to allow her emotions betray her. Not here or now. She was Dr. Taylor Hayes, known for her calm demeanor and strength. She refused to break, regardless of Ridge's decision. As she got to the bottom of the steps, Steffi Forrester, Ridge's daughter and Taylor's pride, approached her. Steffi's sleek black outfit reflected her mother's beauty, but her face was one of concern. "Are you okay, Mom?" she inquired, her voice quiet enough to avoid drawing notice. Taylor gave a strained smile. "I am all right, sweetie." Steffi narrowed her brows, protective instincts kicking in. "He is going to select you. He has to." Taylor reached out and squeezed her daughter's hand. "I appreciate it, Steffi. But your father must follow his heart wherever it leads." Steffi's jaw tightened, and Taylor realized her daughter was suppressing a flood of opinions concerning Brooke. Steffi had never hidden her dislike for the lady she perceived as a disruptor and a source of instability in their household. But Taylor lacked the energy for that battle tonight. She needed to concentrate to prepare herself for what was to come. The audience dispersed as Ridge climbed onto a small platform in the center of the room, holding a microphone. The hubbub subsided, replaced by an expectant calm. Taylor's stomach turned, and her breath caught in her throat. This was it, the moment that would shape her future. "Ladies and gentlemen," Ridge began, his tone warm and strong. "Thank you everybody for coming tonight. This is a night to celebrate not only Forrester Creations, but also love, family, and the future." The guests clapped enthusiastically, filling the room. Taylor's gaze fixed on Ridge, hoping for a sign, a clue, anything that could tell her what he was about to say. But his expression was impenetrable, and his smile was clean and professional. "As you all know," he explained, "Forrester Creations has been my life's work. It's a legacy I share with my family, my children, and the amazing crew that keeps this company going. Tonight, I'm introducing the next chapter in Forrester Creations. I'm taking a step back from day-to-day operations to focus on design, and I'm appointing my son Thomas as CEO." The crowd reacted with surprise, followed by applause. Standing toward the front, Thomas smiled and waved modestly. Taylor felt a surge of pride for her kid, but her focus swiftly returned to Ridge. The corporation made a huge announcement, but it was not the one everyone expected. Ridge's stare softened, and he hesitated as if to collect his thoughts. "There's another announcement I need to make," he said, his voice softer and more intimate. "One that is personal. For years I have been fortunate to have two exceptional women in my life. Taylor and Brooke, you've shaped me in ways I'll never be able to properly articulate." Taylor's heart stopped. She could feel the weight of every eye in the room, the guests' collective breath as they leaned in, hanging on his every word. Brooke, standing only a few steps away, was equally tight, her lips squeezed into a tiny line. "Taylor," Ridge replied, turning toward her. Her breath caught, hope flared in her chest. "You've been my strength and compass. Your wisdom, grace, and unwavering support. I don't know where I'd be without you." He turned to Brooke and Taylor's hope faded. "Brooke, you've been my fire and inspiration. You've pushed me to be better, to dream greater, and to never settle." The room was silent, the tension evident. Taylor's fists clenched at her sides, and her nails dug into her palms. She wanted to shout, to demand that he stop delaying the inevitable, but she remained immobile, waiting. "I've spent months, years really trying to make sense of my heart," Ridge explained. "And I realized I couldn't keep either of you waiting any longer. I've made my decision." He stepped down from the platform, his gaze fixed on Taylor. For a moment she allowed herself to believe. He approached her with a compassionate face and grabbed for her hand. She let him take it, her heart thumping so hard she was certain he could hear it. "Taylor," he continued softly, "you have given me everything. A family, a house, and an unwavering love. But—" the word struck her as a physical blow. "But—" her vision clouded, and tears threatened to spill over. She yanked her hand back, backing away from him, knowing what was going to happen next. "I'm sorry," Ridge admitted, his voice breaking. "My heart belongs to Brooke." A gasp echoed throughout the audience. Taylor felt the room tilt, the lights were too bright, and the air was too thin. She wanted to flee, to disappear, but her pride kept her in place. She raised her chin, forcing herself to meet his eyes. Brooke stepped forward, her eyes bright with triumph and shame. She reached for Ridge and he took her hand, bringing her closer. The sight was like a knife in Taylor's heart, twisting deeper with each second. Steffi was by her side in an instant, her arm wrapped around Taylor's waist. "Mom, let's go," she murmured quickly. Taylor shook her head. "You don't need to do this." "No," she said, her voice firm despite the maelstrom within her. "I'm not running." She turned to face Ridge, her eyes filled with a fire she hadn't felt in years. "You have made your choice, Ridge. I respect it. But know this, I am done waiting. I am done hoping. I'm moving forward with or without you." The words hung in the air as a declaration of her strength and resilience. The visitors were startled as Taylor turned and went away, head held high. Steffi followed, her face a mix of admiration and rage. Taylor hesitated as they approached the doors, casting one more glance back. Ridge stood with Brooke, their hands still intertwined, but his gaze was fixed on her. For a brief time she thought she saw regret in his eyes, but she brushed it aside. She didn't need his regrets. She didn't need him. Outside, the cool night air washed over her like a wave, grounding her. She took a deep breath, allowing the agony and rage transform into something new, determination. This was not the conclusion of her story. It was the start of something new, something she could write on her own terms. The city lights spread out before her, reminding her of the world beyond the Forrester home, ridge, and heartache. Taylor Hayes was a survivor who will rise again, stronger than ever.